Welcome to Tangent PropTech, where real estate meets innovation and goes a bit off script. I'm Edward Cohen, PropTech entrepreneur and your host, alongside my co-hosts and PropTech venture capitalists Jeffrey Berman and Zach Aarons. On this show, we bring on a guest who's shaping the future of real estate. We dive into housing innovation, climate tech, the future of work, and everything transforming our buildings and cities. And of course, we go on some tangents. If you work in real estate, PropTech, development, or if you're just obsessed with making buildings and cities better, this show is for you. Because sometimes the best real estate ideas start with a tangent. I'm Edward Cohen. Welcome to Tangent.
Hey there, this is Jeffrey Berman, and it is a beautiful day in Palm Beach, Florida, not Miami. I don't live in Miami.
Sounds like Miami. Sounds like you're in Miami, Jeff, and you love it. Today on Tangent, we have Luis Poggi, co-founder and CEO at HouseWhisper, 24/7 AI assistant for real estate professionals. Hi, Luis. Where does this podcast find you?
Hello, Edward and Jeff. Nice to be with you today. I am in Seattle right now. That's where we have our offices.
You're in the exact opposite place in America of Jeff.
That's right. Today, actually, some sun, but rainy city. Beautiful city.
I think you'll get plenty of sun when River Plate and Mastantuono arrive there in a few weeks.
I'm so excited.
Shout out to all the River Plate fans out there. So, Luis, this is not your first PropTech rodeo. You spent over a decade at Zillow in product and engineering. What did your experience at Zillow teach you about how real estate professionals work, and what led you to launching HouseWhisper?
Yes, I spent a decade there. It was a fantastic experience. The main thing I would say, number one, from a consumer perspective, you quickly realize that buying and selling a home is one of the most emotional and critical decisions of people's lives. And the agent is at the center of that process. At the same time, you also learn that the agents are overwhelmed with managing too many clients, drowning on admin work. And sometimes this makes the agents having a lot of leads that slip through the cracks. The other thing that I learned at Zillow was that you can see a clear difference between top agents conversion and the average agent conversion, and sometimes even 4 or 5 times the conversion differences. And the main reason was not just the charm, it's being organized, follow through, follow up. So that was the main realization there. And then at the same time, generative AI appears to the world. This new technology that I think it changes every single industry. But it was so obvious how this technology can actually bring these systems to the agent. So every agent can have the system to follow through and follow up and really guide more consumers through this process. So that was the main spark to say, okay, I can help agents guide more consumers, more buyers and sellers in this complicated transaction. And that's why we launched HouseWhisper.
And lucky for us, we have one of the investors of Serhant, Jeffrey Berman.
That is true. And I would say the largest investor, not just one of the investors.
Amazing.
Correct that, editor. Lucky for Serhant.
That's exactly right.
Luis, so give us the one-liner. What is HouseWhisper and how does it transform how agents work?
Yeah, we are giving every agent a full-time personal assistant that is trained specifically in real estate. It's integrated with your systems, your calendar, your CRM. And then what it does is it helps you with reminders, with tasks, with follow-ups, and it works 24/7. The way it works, which I think is one of the biggest differentiators that we bring to the table, is that it's not an app, it's not a website, it's just a phone number that you can call, you text, like if you had a personal assistant, and it will take care of your things. So that's the main value and why people are loving it, because it's so easy to use it and takes care of your things or the admin work.
That's fascinating. Does that mean that there's no onboarding per se?
No, actually, we have the onboarding is for you to set up your assistant. So basically, part of the onboarding, you connect with your assistant and you set up its name. You can call it whatever you want. You can say to them, how do you want me to be named? Also, if they want to. So we have some agents that are asking the assistant to call them Your Majesty. So the assistant will call you, hi, I imagine. And then you start with more personalization. At what time do you want your assistant to sync with you daily? What type of information you want the assistant to send you? What type of things you want to prioritize? So that's the onboarding. But it's learning every day with you. And then from day one, you start getting value.
This reminds me of a recent podcast I listened to with Satya Nadella from Microsoft, who was talking how, we're in the agentic AI era, and that may collapse a lot of the user interface apps that humans currently interact with. And that's going to all be collapsed to the agents interacting on the back end with all the apps, while the apps just become these curators of critical data that the agents then access to perform the task. So how does that framework fit into what you're building at HouseWhisper?
Yeah, I love it. I follow Satya a lot. He's actually defining our future so much. I believe this is a big change on how we think about software. So the reality is that apps tend to be passive, and these agentic workflows are doing things for you proactively. So that's what we're building, basically. We're building, and it's hard in this industry to say we are building AI agents for real estate agents. That's why we don't use the AI agent that much. But the reality is all our products and agentic workflows and multiple of agents. We already have more than a dozen agents doing different things for the agent, real estate agent. And I think the important part for me on how it works for every human, and particularly for real estate, they want fewer things, not more things. The whole thesis of HouseWhisper has been we will not do another app, another login, another thing to download. And it's just a phone number that connects with everything that you have and actually manages those things for you. And that's, I think, the big change of how we have created this. It's complex because it's a new UX, user experience. So every new feature that we create is a lot easier if you have a website, you have an app. When it's just voice or text, you rethink. There's no models out there that we can copy. So it's fascinating to be creating in these new worlds every day, how we deliver that, and it's a magical experience for the consumer. I do believe this idea of agents, AI agents, proactively doing things and doing more and more things as this technology evolves is the future. So imagine one example here that we do is the assistant is connected with your calendar. It looks at your meeting with me. So before the meeting with Luis, it will text you or call you and say, hey, you're meeting with Luis. Remember, last time you talk about soccer. He's fan of River Plate. His kids are Sophie and Nico. And you promised to talk about this topic. So it's proactive. And then during the meeting, we'll say, do you want me to take notes? Call me and put me on speaker and I will record your conversations. And then we take notes, and then we'll add that back to your system, to your CRM. So it's proactively doing. So you don't have to remember, basically help you doing the things for you.
And you kind of already answered this, but the way to interact with the agent is either via text or voice?
Exactly. A lot of people text. And so for example, in the morning, we send you a text, say, hey, Edward, here's your agenda for today. Anything else you want me to remind you? Or here are 5 leads that are new and you haven't connected with them. You want me to call them and connect you with that? Or people at the end of the day, when they're driving back home, they call the assistant and say, hey, I just met with Jeff. Okay, what notes do you want me to add about Jeff? Blah, blah, blah. And any next step, do you want me to change the stage in the funnel? Yes, I will do it. So basically it's voice or text. And the things that we're adding is, for example, now images. So you take a picture of, imagine in an open house, you have this sign-in sheet. So you take a picture of that and we create leads for every single lead of that, and we assign a plan for each lead. So, or a business card, take a picture, boom, create a lead. So it's similar to if you had an assistant, you would send that picture and say, okay, do these things for me, and we'll do it.
Super exciting and so many questions, but I wanted to ask Jeff, have you looked at many AI agents for various real estate roles out there?
So we have. The challenge that we're finding from an investment perspective is that these don't seem that difficult to build, and the differentiation seems far and few between. Let's look at our experience with Serhant. Serhant has a proprietary AI model called Simple, and Simple essentially automates all the flow that a real estate agent might require to market and communicate properties and around clients. the way that they are building their models, they're using something what Josh Teen, the president of the organization, calls recipes. Now, we could say that we have this massive advantage because of the data moat that we have, i.e. all of the interaction from the Serhant agents, which are nearing 1,000 at this point, actually probably more now. But at the same time, I'd be foolish to say that there aren't other companies that could build something similar if they have adroit technical people that understand how to blend the generative LLMs from multiple sources and sell that to other brokerages. And so with Serhant, we have a distribution advantage because of the media presence that we have. That is both helping us create a moat on the GCI that we're attracting without paying for. Our CAC is very low, as well as the adoption of our AI platform. Simple. So I think it'd be very difficult for another company to try and replicate what Serhant has done internally, unless like Element decides, hey, we're going to build our own, or Cushman and Wakefield decide we're going to build our own. But somebody that is building this from, again, like that is looking for venture funding, I haven't yet seen anything that would make me excited or confident that they'll be able to be that differentiated in order to create a real moat and a real winner in the organization. Does that answer your question?
It does. Now, is it training it on Serhant's data and Serhant's agents, or is it allowing also externals?
For now, it is only in the what I call the Serhantiverse, and that's by design because we essentially create unrecruitable agents. Like once somebody joins Serhant and then begins to use the various elements of our platform, which it doesn't end at simple. We also have our studios platform, and we have the content creation. There are no organizations that are embracing what I would call brokerage 3.0 the way Serhant does. And so once an agent becomes a Serhant agent and they start working with the tools and they see how far and beyond it is compared to what any of the other legacy brokerages or even the so-called tech-enabled brokerages can offer, it's not even close. So at the moment, there's no reason for us to open that to others. I would never say never, but I don't think for the time being, there's a good reason for it. But again, going back to like agentic AI workflows, I completely agree with Luis. At the same time, usability doesn't necessarily transfer into venture scalability because the relative barrier is so low for somebody to create these types of platforms and programs. Distribution really becomes the most important angle. And so for us, like when we look at investing, we looked at a company that was employing AI agents for accounting services for multifamily. And we got close, really interesting company. I think they're doing good work. But at the same time, we looked at 5 other companies doing the exact same thing. And if I can't go to my LPs, the folks that own 1 million plus units and say, hey, this is the reason you have to use just this one, which I couldn't do. I couldn't provide differentiation. And then it's going to be tough for us to invest.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think you have several points that are valid. We'll see what happens. I would say a couple of things. So number one, I do believe it's getting better and better and easier to build some of these workflows. At the same time, they're not easy to build. So I don't disagree that other tech people can do it too, but I have an amazing team of engineers, experts in AI. I'm in Seattle, and in Seattle it has been amazing to hire people from Microsoft, Amazon that has been doing AI for a long time. And it's harder, still is not there for all the things that we want to do, and it's coming. But I don't disagree that it can be done. It will be able to everyone to be doing some of these things in the future, but it's not that simple today. Number two, I do believe what you said, distribution is one of the key things. And lucky enough, given our experience with Zillow, we have been getting a lot of distribution and we're expanding quickly because of that. So distribution has been one of our advantage compared to other startups out there. And that has been fantastic, actually. And then, as you know, this industry has a lot of word of mouth, and that has been incredible for us on that front. I do believe, though, so to your point on distribution and then the usage, once agents start using this assistant and the assistants are becoming a lot more personalized to you, your routines, your day-to-day, the things that you like, the things that how you want to write, how do you want to be communicated, changing is hard. So that is one of the angles that we see and why we are so obsessed on building this relationship between the assistant and the consumer, because we have seen some team leads saying, okay, I don't know if I want to pay for this. And then the top agents are saying, no, you cannot stop this. Or can I pay for it by myself because I was managing my day? So can you replace it? Yeah, yes, but it's becoming harder and harder if you create that relationship with the human. But I agree, Jeff. I think it's the theme for a lot of generative AI companies today, what you're describing.
Certainly, in the early stages of what AI can be and will become, but I think very valid points on all sides. When it comes to distribution, Serhant has certainly created this brand for themselves, and we can find them now even on Netflix. But in terms of where people are actually searching for homes to buy, to sell, still rely heavily on the Zillows and Street Easy here in New York City, which is also owned by Zillow, and maybe a couple of others. But it should be an interesting development to see how these AI agents become better with time as they get to know their masters, their partners. How are we calling them? The humans? Also, what happens if the AI agent quits on the broker? Is that allowed or not yet? We have AI agent rights for AI agents. Anyway, a lot of questions still unanswered. So real estate is often compared to travel, and a lot of travel agents have gone extinct. So will real estate agents go extinct, or does AI actually reinforce the value of human agents?
Look, I had the pleasure to work at Expedia first, and then I spent a couple of years at Expedia and then joined Zillow. And when I joined Zillow, I thought that was the objective. So because Rich Barton was the same founder of Expedia and Zillow, so I said, okay, well, this plays the travel agents, so it will be the same with real estate agents. And then you quickly realize that the agent is so important in this decision. I remember seeing some facts showing that moving is more stressful than preparing a wedding or than actually getting fired. Wow. It's so stressful. And it's probably the most important financial decision for most Americans. So having an AI to guide you through that, come on. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it. I don't believe, at least not for the time being. So I don't see AI replacing real estate agents at all. Now, I really see an AI agent with AI outperforming agents without AI. That's for sure.
This episode is brought to you by CREtech, one of the most valuable events I attend each year. It's happening October 21st and 22nd at the Javits Center in New York. Whether you're a real estate owner, operator, developer, or tenant, this is where the industry comes together to share ideas, to explore new tech, and build relationships that actually move the business forward. I've had the chance to grow real partnerships and discover solutions here that I probably wouldn't have come across otherwise. And this year, CREtech is rolling out something new for 2025 that I get to tell you about. It's called the Hosted Meetings Program, and it's designed for qualified real estate professionals, and it covers your full event pass plus up to $800 in travel and hotel costs. All they ask in return is that you take a few short, curated one-on-one meetings with tech companies that align with your business needs. It's a smart, low-pressure way to explore what's out there without the typical event costs. If your company owns or manages 1,000 residential units or 1 million square feet of commercial real estate, and you're involved in tech or operational decision-making, this is definitely worth checking out. You can learn more in the show notes and see if you qualify by reaching out to us at tangentcommunity@gmail.com. I'd love to help you get set up and to hang out at the event. User code PARTNERTANGENT20 for 20% off your ticket. See you at CREtech. Now, back to the show. So during our previous conversations, you mentioned how you're avoiding the freemium trap. So I want to ask you, how you're developing your pricing model, who's paying and how, and talk about how, you're avoiding the freemium trap that so many startups fall into.
Yeah, look, I think one of the key books that for me and authors, actually, I talked to the author of this book, in monetizing innovations, I highly recommend for any startup to take, because a lot of startups fail because they don't put a number in front of their consumers early on in their ideas. That's, I think, one of the main reasons why startup failed, because yes, you can have a freemium or you can have a free for a period of time and you have momentum, you start seeing those metrics. Yeah, people love it. But if they're not paying, people will value a lot more your solution. When we start charging early, then the feedback that we got from these teams, friends, I would say very good friends, but the feedback changed as soon as they wrote the first check to us. So it's so important to have from day one agents paying. Now, for generative AI, I think across a lot of industries, there's even Salesforce. The other day I was reading how they're thinking about their model. They're selling credits now, the things that AI can do for you. It is evolving a lot, the pricing. So for now, we are selling you buy one assistant or two assistants or five assistants, depending on the number of agents you have and how many assistants you want to offer to your people, to your agents. And depending on the size, we have different pricing. But we're still working very early in this pricing and working very close with our partners to see, okay, what is the value we're bringing to you? If we're bringing more value, then it's going to be easier for you to pay us. And we're seeing more and more the features that we're bringing that is clear, identifying what value we bring to them. And so then it's a lot easier to have the conversation. Okay, this is the value that we charge you. But I think this is evolving. For all this new software with generative AI is evolving very rapidly. Are you charging by usage, but you want to encourage usage? Are you charging by outcome? Can you measure the outcome? Ideally, it's connected with outcome.
And the agents that you're working with, are they helping buy and sell properties or rentals or a mix of both?
Mostly they are buying and selling homes. We have some rentals leads that they have, but the majority is about buying and selling. That's the main focus right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you can help agent teams, sell even a couple more homes every quarter, they'll be shut up and take my money,
And that's what is happening. So the teams that have adopted this, they're seeing actually all their metrics going up. The number of people that are scheduling the appointment, the number of appointments, what happened after the appointment. And so they're starting to see, it's hard to connect though, a good assistant is helping you with the actual transaction, but all the metrics are indicating that they're actually doing the things that they want them to do. Mm-hmm. So that's early indicators that we're in the right track.
Yeah, I wonder, gathering this data will be the harder part probably, but if you're able to somehow gather how, the time it takes for agents to respond, how long it takes for agents to close on average a home, and then you can tell them, well, actually, you're performing 30% below the average in your area. With an agent, you'll be able to,
That's a good idea. Yes.
So usage and retention. So you currently have around 8,000 plus paying agents and growing. That's truly impressive. Yes. So, what are you learning so far about churn?
By the way, that's fantastic.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's a great number. What are they paying per month?
They're paying depending on the size, as I mentioned before, depending on how big they are. So it can go from, if you're individual agents, $100, but if you have a very large team, $25. So it depends of how big your team is.
It's not a per agent fee?
Yeah, it's basically per assistant that you buy. If you have a team of 50, you buy 50 assistants, and usually most teams buy for everyone. So they want to offer this assistant to everyone.
Nice. I love it.
Yes. It has been fantastic. And a lot of this, as we discussed, is a lot of word of mouth. And this industry has been amazing. And one of the main things has been this magical moment they get very early. As we discussed, the onboarding is so quick and they immediately see the value of how this assistant is reminding them I promised this to Edward, I promised this to Jeff, or I need to do this tomorrow, that they forgot. So having this assistant doing this type of things has been very, very helpful. And so immediately we have received from these teams that at the beginning, team leads, they were, well, it's cool, seems like a nice toy, great, to then calling me and say, I never got that many random agents calling me and saying, how good is this thing that you gave me? Thank you. That has been something magical of this, especially how nailed this first experience, the first few days.
And how are people discovering it?
Right now, most of the discovery has been word of mouth. So we have a group of salespeople that here, and when I started, I worked with several of the teams that work with Zillow, but now they're referring to other teams. It's interesting in this industry that I noticed certain things people do not mention to their competitors or to other teams, but things that are around productivity and being better, it's very open. We have a lot of panels where some of our customers start talking about HouseWhisper in front of all their competitors. You have to use it. That has been the main driver right now.
That's amazing. And what are you spending on marketing?
No, nothing yet. I'm actually trying to hire someone now on marketing to help me thinking through this.
What do you mean, Jeff? He comes on Tangent and that's how he does marketing.
Exactly.
Let's talk about what has happened recently in 2025. And I know this is changing by the day, but what has changed in AI and in agent expectations that makes HouseWhisper possible and investable?
I think, well, as you know, the technology is improving at such an exponential rate. Every week there's a new model. And I think, again, first of all, that's how we build our culture here in the company. Everyone needs to be seeing what's new and testing it. And then on Fridays, we review and we look at what is new, how is it evolving. So, for example, our agentic workflow and the different agents we use all the models. Depending on the task, we use one model, we fine-tune another model, we take another model. It's changing so drastically that if you're not on top of this, then you're missing out.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the development perspective. On the agent perspective, every conference that I go, there is a session of AI or people talking about AI. Mm-hmm. So last week it was in Dallas in the T360, all the leaders of major brokerages and leaders in the industry, and everyone mentioned AI.
So that's my point. The speed of innovation at the foundational model level is so quick. So you have this team that's staying on top of it. I'm curious, when you go to a conference like this, how many companies like yours are you running up against?
Well, actually, so far in this, what I'm finding, my observation was the opposite, is people are hungry for, so when I talk to them, I say, oh, I want that. Can you help me? Because usually I'm talking about these brokerages that they don't have the infrastructure to do this today. And they're actually lagging a year or two. That a year or two in this world is a decade in terms of technology. So I'm actually not seeing that many that are that advanced in this and in this particular industry. Again, I can mention a few, but there's not. I'm actually surprised with that, to be honest. I actually see it more like as an opportunity that people are talking about this. They want this, but they don't have actually the resources or the expertise to do it today. It will change. It's inevitable. But that's what I'm observing right now, Jeff.
Yeah, there's clearly a true first mover advantage here. I mean, if you're the first one using HouseWhisper in your market or in your asset, in your type of homes that you work with, and your competitors aren't, you'll be able to save a lot on costs and move faster.
I believe so, yeah.
It seems like, we're entering the era of the solopreneur. And I'm not saying every company will be able to be run as a independent single person, but do you think we'll see the rise of solo real estate agents?
Solo real estate agents, I think we already have solo real estate agents. And some of them are very, very powerful. And they have celebrities status and they can do a bunch of things themselves. And building a team is hard. It's a different set of skill sets. It's very lucrative, but it's a different set of skill sets. You need to build a team. You need to have an operational team. So I do believe there is a lot of agents that will continue to be by themselves. And with tools like this, then they need fewer people to do more deals. So I do believe that could happen. Now, I don't think the trend that has happened for the last, I think, almost decade of teams growing will not continue. I truly believe that is the model that will continue to take more and more, especially when these teams are very tech forward and they are adopting this type of technologies and training the agents. I think this will actually have a big difference from them versus individual agents that most of them are not adopting these technologies. So I actually think that this would actually make it even more obvious that these teams will grow faster. I'm not saying that will not appear some of these individuals, but I think this technology will push more teams to be more productive.
We'll see about that, but I tend to agree with you. Luis, last but not least, collaboration superpower.
Yes.
If you could choose one person, historic or living, to do a partnership with, who would it be? Besides El Muñeco Gallardo.
Messi? No. I would say a person that has been very important for me in this generative AI has been this guy called Andrej Karpathy, who was one of the founders of OpenAI, then went to lead Tesla Vision, then came back to OpenAI, and now he's an educator. I learned so much from him on how he simplifies all this new technology into something that simple and creates a vision. So he actually is the one that coined the term that now is widely used of vibe coding. That he's the one who actually started this. So again, I would love to sit down with him and start imagining how it looks like for real estate, from how he simplifies these models for humans. So that would be the partner I would pick.
Andrej Karpathy, if you're listening to Tangent, hit Luis up. Luis, where can Tangent listeners and real estate agents learn more about HouseWhisper and connect with you?
Well, my email is luis@housewhisper.ai, and they can go to housewhisper.ai and find more information there.
Luis Poggi, co-founder and CEO at HouseWhisper, 24/7 AI agents for real estate professionals. Thank you so much for coming to Tangent today.
Thank you so much, Edward and Jeff.
Our pleasure.
Muchas gracias. And thank you for listening to this episode of Tangent PropTech. If you learned something new or enjoyed the conversation, text a friend the link to this episode right now. Make sure to follow the show wherever it is that you're listening so that you never miss an episode. Tangent PropTech is co-hosted by me, Edward Cohen, along with Jeffrey Berman and Zach Aarons. You can find links, resources, and ways to connect with us in the show notes, or reach out anytime at tangentcommunity@gmail.com or on LinkedIn. We love interview suggestions, topic ideas, or just a friendly hello. If you're building something impactful in real estate or tech and want to reach our audience of decision makers, investors, and operators, email us. Again, that's tangentcommunity@gmail.com. We'll catch you next time, and remember, the best PropTech ideas usually start with a tangent.